Page 80, dotted quarter march. 4/4 time. It's got one sharp in the key signature, so we're in the key of G major. All the F's are sharped wherever they are. I'm going to kind of take it both hands at the same time because this is really just dealing with chords, and you're dealing with the same chords in each hand, so we'll just do it that way. Starting out with the left hand with this G chord way down here. In the key of G, it's a 1 chord. Rhythm, 1 and 2 in. Remember the dotted rhythm. The quarter note gets a count. The dot gets half a count. And then the 8th note comes on the and of whatever it is. In this case, it's 2. So it's 1 and 2 and. That's why I say the and of 2. 2 and. Get it? Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the rhythm for the most part throughout the piece on all the measures that have a dotted rhythm. Then they're dealing with the inversions of the chord. So the first measure is root. Remember, root is where they're every other note, and the bottom note identifies the chord. That's root position. First inversion, we simply put the G on top. And then the third measure is second inversion, so we put the B on top. See, they're all G chords. It's just lift up and move. Yes, there's other fingerings we could use. We'll just use this one. It's fine. It's not the fingering we're after here. It's some other things. And then finally, you have a 1 chord, and then the right hand gets to play 2. Yay! It's a 1 chord, and then first inversion. The left hand has a whole note. Second line, measure 5. Now it's a C chord, which is in the key of G. A C chord is the 4 chord. So it's a 4 chord in the key of G. But it's a C chord in any key. And it's the same thing. Root, first inversion, second inversion, you put the E on top, and then root again, and then the right hand gets to play again. Yay team. C, first inversion. Next line, measure 9. Now we're here. A D chord. Well, in the key of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a 5 chord. They're the primary chords in the key of G. So here, it's not a 5/7 chord here, it's just the 5 chord. And then that's the root position. Then first inversion, put the D on top. Now how you finger this, they're saying 5-3-1. The little thing, if that doesn't work for you, you can do a 4-2-1. For the next measure, for the second inversion, if this thumb doesn't work for you because you got to have your hand up here, then you can do this. But you got to have big hands for that. If you got small hands, this fingering should not be a problem. However you finger it, it's up to you. And then the right hand gets to play 2. And again, if this isn't working, then just go here. Actually, you could do the first one there because that's the position. I mean, we could use this kind of fingering and these other things too, but no. But that happens to work out here because the black key is in the way. Remember, there is an F sharp in the key of G major. And then the last line is similar to the first line except for the last measure where you have to do this. Both hands are moving. That's tricky when both hands have to move at the same time and they're moving opposite directions and different distances at the same time. Ugh. Well, we can get around that. You don't have to do that. For the last measure, in the right hand, rather than here and here, use the extended fingering for here and do a 1, 2, 3 and then a 2, 3, 5. You're not moving. And you could have used this fingering in this last measure of all these lines. But again, as I said, it's not the fingering we're after here, it's other things. However, we have to move both hands, so in this case, I think it's easier if you use this fingering. This way, you're only moving the left hand, so you can focus more on the left hand. The right hand isn't moving. That makes it a little easier. Comes in handy in a lot of pieces. So think about that. Then we talk about, well, articulation wise, the only thing they give you really are accents. In the right, and it's the last measure of the lines. Yeah, just put a little louder. Just. And don't connect these. Don't try and connect them. And that's really all. The only articulation to get is the accents. Then the dynamics, well, you're starting out soft at the beginning, whatever you think soft is. And then by the end of the second measure, you come up just a hair. And then on the third measure, I think you start at moderately soft, and by the third or fourth beat, moderately loud. So you're loud here plus accent. So you save most of your getting loud toward the end of the crescendo, end of the arrow. So it's soft, soft, a little louder, medium soft, medium loud, loud. You do the same thing on every line, same crescendo. Now it is a march, that's key. March, that's important, because a march implies people are going to move to this. They're going to step left, right, left, right. Well, a couple of things there. First, the speed has to be so they can do a left, right, left, right. You don't want them to go left, right, left, right, left, right, left. It says it's a slow march tempo, so they're going to take their time about marching. So left, right, left. The idea with it being slow is it gives you more time to focus on moving your hand on all these chords. But it has to be a steady beat. You can't hesitate anywhere, or the marchers trip over themselves. So it's got to be a steady beat, at however fast you're going to go. So pick a speed: left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So forth, left, right, huh? And for the right hand, since the right hand doesn't play into the last measure of each line, you can leave it on your lap until right before you need it. Make sure it's where you need it before you need it, but otherwise you can leave it. Or if you're more comfortable, just leave it on the keyboard. I'm too lazy for that. I put it on my lap until right before I need it. About the last beat of the third measure is about when I put it up, and that's the march. On top of that, they've added pedal. Oh, well, let's talk about that. It's going to be overlapping pedal. I'm going to push the pedal down right after I play the notes. I'm going to change the pedal at each measure right after I play the notes. And they're showing overlapping even going to the next line. That's fine. Or if you'd like to hear phrasing, lift the pedal up with the hands at the end of each line. So we use a little silence. It's like taking a breath and going on. So to play the last measure of the first line and going on, it was that. Lift up. There's two different ways of interpreting it. The way the music is marked, you overlap it. But pedaling indications are suggestions. They're not, you have to do it this way. There's, how do you want to interpret it and what sound are you after? Because if you think about, really, the harmony-wise, you could hold the pedal down for the whole line. You don't even have to change it. The harmony isn't changing. And it helps build the sound. It's a little blurry, but you could in theory. So there are different possibilities in the pedaling here. When you first learn it, leave the pedal out because you want to hear clearly, are you getting the notes down at the same time? I'm just lowering the whole hand each time and I'm collapsing the wrist each time. Don't play with a stiff wrist. Collapse the wrist each time. Gently. Even when you get loud, you're just using more weight. The notes go down a little quicker, but you still collapse the wrist. I don't really think you need to play with me on this because it's pretty straightforward and I've more or less played it for you anyway. So I'm going to leave out the play with me here You can experiment. Just remember, this is an idea for playing the inversions of the chords. Playing the chords, it's more for that than the pedaling. You can leave the pedaling out. You don't really need it. And the dynamics to get louder as you get toward the end of each line. Yeah.